it's an engine on the table here. What has that to do with SAP?
That's a very, very good question. So this is actually a model of a real jet engine. And the story that I've actually promised to bring you is, how do we fix this engine? I'm sure, as you know, if there's something wrong with the engine, in many cases, you just have to take it off the plane, right? You have to take it off the plane, bring it into the repair shop. Like, for example, Rolls-Royce. You have to bring it into the Rolls-Royce headquarters so they can fix it. Yeah, let's imagine that we had a problem with high-pressure compressor. We fixed this, right? The question is, since it's Test Expo, Sweden, so we need to be able to test it now. And the question is, how do we test it? And there are a few ways how we can do it, actually 3 very common ways. The first one is we can take this engine back from the headquarters of the repair shop, put it into the plane, fly, take off, and test it. It would be like testing in production. Is that a good way to do some testing?
Well, in this case, I would pass.
Would you like to be a tester?
The second one.
Yeah. So probably this is something we don't want to do, right? We don't want to test on production. The second way how we can test this engine is we can, inside the repair shop headquarters, we can build a copy of the plane. So it has to look exactly like the original plane. So it has to have wings, it has to have everything. And we will be able to put this engine into this copy and again, fly and test it. Again, is that a good way to do testing? Does that sound reasonable?
Better,
but does that actually make sense?
It's doable, but expensive.
It's doable, but very, very expensive and also time consuming, right? If you need to rebuild a whole plane, and imagine we can probably put this engine into multiple types of planes. How much time would it take to rebuild all of the planes? We'll come back to this example. What is the third alternative? What is the easiest alternative to be able to test an engine quickly? How do we do this?
Or we build a digital twin.
We can build a digital twin, or we can simulate. We can simulate all of the external systems just to test whether this, in this case, high pressure compressor is still working. We don't need the whole plane around that, right? We don't need to build a copy of this plane. Right? This is how the testing of the engine is done. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah? We can just simulate. We can just connect this to a simulator and we test any kind of components, and if everything is working, then we ship it back and we go ahead. So the question is, if we know that this is probably the less costly option, so it doesn't cost a lot and it's very, very quick because we just plug it in and everything is tested. The question is, why doesn't it apply to the software testing? Right? Why in the software testing, especially in the SAP transformations, everyone is thinking we have to build a copy of the plane in order to test something. We have to have a system that is almost as near as the production system. All of the master data needs to be fine. All of the connectivity needs to be set up. Everything needs to be the hardware. We need to buy the hardware. And this is the only way how we can do this. Why is that? Right? Why no one is thinking, okay, is there a different method? Is there a simpler way, more cost effective? This is the problem that we're having. And on this conference, we will have a few opportunities to find out how this can be done in a different way.
But for me, it's like the second option, doing the copy, the copy of the plane.
Yes.
So yes. That's the secure option for me.
Yes,
as an organization.
That's the secure option. Yeah. Whenever we talk about software testing, everyone thinks this is something that makes sense. But how come when I talk about building a copy of the plane, all of a sudden no one is thinking that actually makes sense? We should have copies of all of the planes and just plug the engines in, and this should work, right? It's a difficult it's a difficult question, but the complexity is very similar, right? In order to make a copying the system, so the software world sounds simple.
Yeah.
Let's just copy the system.
I like the metaphor. So the metaphor of using this engine, I think this will help a lot of customers to understand the virtualization. Nowadays, what I normally see with a lot of customers, when we talk about virtualizations or APIs or whatever, they don't know what we're talking about. It's uncommon ground for them. They're still insecure. They don't know what it is. Let's do it manual. Because
I think it's our fault. We don't give two simple examples.
Yeah.
Everyone is thinking copying software is easy. No, it's not easy. You have to get the new software. You have to get the new hardware. You have to copy the software, align master data, set up all of the connectivity. This is really, really difficult. And it's time consuming, right?
And that sounds to me that the convincing of this idea is the key point here.
Yeah.
Not the software. That works.
Yes. Yeah. We have to show different examples from different industries, from different parts of testing, right? Because sometimes they are more compelling.
Yeah, and I know this, sometimes now we do a POC, the proof of concept, and then they're getting slowly convinced. But we still have a big market to win here.
Yeah, and that's the last question. Is like the market for the SAP testing. It's huge.
Yes,
Is it
huge.
Is it growing? What's your
Yes, because of the huge S/4HANA transformation programs, the deadline of support by 2027 by SAP, the SAP needs to move a lot of thousands of customers per year to S/4HANA. So this market is really, really very strong, and we're anticipating a very quick growth of this market. Right, there will be much more S/4HANA transformations. Right,
and on top of that, now we talked about it. We will talk about it in the later session. These HANA transformations, they will take time. It's not within 1 week you have done it. No, these are probably multi-month, multi-year projects for the large organizations.
Yes,
They need to start now.
The engine actually shows why S/4HANA, why SAP is so important, because for many companies, this is their heart. The heart is connected to a lot of different systems, right? A lot of different systems. So it's very difficult to replace the heart if you don't know how to test it properly, right?
Yeah. Thank you for that insight of the SAP testing in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you so much.